excited to have another piper today on Piping Talks. If you haven't watched or listened to the previous episodes, we have 3 pipers so far, 1 drummer. So excited to have David Shedden on today. I think we overlapped maybe 1 year at Boghall, but not quite sure. But David is a piper from Glasgow, played for many bands in Grade 1. And now a solo piper and teacher. He is also a very good and talented musician, solo musician and tune writer. So very excited to talk about your album that you launched a few years ago and the tune that you write. So David, how are you?
Yeah, very well. Thanks so much for having me on.
Yeah, of course. Are you in Glasgow? So we talked a little bit, but you're in Glasgow right now. Is that where you live?
Yeah, I live in Glasgow. I'm talking to you from the one of the piping centres. This is the Otago Street Piping Centre. Obviously, used to be the College of Piping in the West.
Back in the days.
Yeah.
Is it because they're expanding the piping centre, or?
Yeah, the piping centre bought over the College of Piping, so this is now the piping centre.
Ah.
So
I see. The West End version.
Yeah, exactly. So, so it's a nice building. I like working from here. There's nice like windows and stuff in there.
I've been once, but it's probably more like food and things to do after work, right? If you have a break, right?
Yeah. The West End's great for that. And my favourite coffee shop is just in the corner.
What is it?
Otago Street. So it's a coffee shop called Perch and Rest. It's quite new. It's maybe 3 or 4 years old now, but it's definitely the best coffee in Glasgow.
Ooh, really? Okay, cool. For for those in Glasgow that want to try the best coffee, it's funny. Blair Brown, that you also know, is a huge coffee enthusiast, and he's raving about. I think it's Cup. Paper Cup. That's right.
Paper Cup are like the original good coffee in Glasgow. They're the other side. They're like a 5-minute walk that way. But yeah, the Perch and Rest are a bit more modern. It's like later roast coffees.
Nice.
I'm a total coffee nerd.
Are you? Well, have you always been, or like in the past, like few years, you've been like?
I've always liked it, but I've never really known about it until the last couple of years. So now I'm like big into coffee and like.
Really? Do you make it at home, or are you like trying different coffee shops and? Yeah,
no, I make it at home as well. Yeah, I've got like a ridiculously expensive grinder. I'm such a nerd. I don't care.
Wait. That's awesome. Wait, do you do pour over, or do you like French press, or?
Yeah, I've got an espresso machine in the house, so I do espresso in the house, and actually I've taken over the Otago Street kitchen, so I've got like a coffee pouring kettle and like a V60 and stuff.
Look at that. That's so funny.
It's so nerdy. So I work with Stephen Blake, and Stephen is big into coffee as well. So we've taken over the staff kitchen with just loads of coffee stuff.
That is hilarious. Actually, usually I start with like, more of the live stuff and then the piping stuff. And then I finish with like the fun stuff, but I feel like we're starting with the fun stuff. So, that's cool. I should try this coffee shop next time in Glasgow for sure. It's a good chat. Yeah. All right, to go back. So, you're based in Glasgow right now. What's up?
I was going to just say, I first met you when we were. I don't know if I was playing in Boghall the same year that you were playing in Boghall. My brother was definitely playing. But
yeah.
I remember getting a lift, probably with Brian McComish, to a Boghall practice with you, I think.
Really? Yeah, probably. Yeah, because I did an overlap with Brian. So, and I was always looking for a ride to band practice from Glasgow. So, that's funny.
I think my mum maybe took us one time as well, because I couldn't. Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah, I remember like every time I would be in Glasgow because that's, there's no point in staying in Bathgate. So I would stay in Glasgow and I was always trying to get a lift to band practice. So yeah, very good memory. Good memory. I can't quite remember, but that's funny. And you're so based in Glasgow right now, but where did you like grow up? Like, were you in Glasgow as
Yeah.
well?
Live in Glasgow. I'm from Glasgow. Well, I'm like maybe like a couple of miles north of Glasgow, a place called Bishopbriggs, which is like I think it's like 6 minutes on the train from Glasgow city centre, so pretty close. So I just say I'm from Glasgow.
Yeah, it's easier. Sounds cooler too, probably.
Yeah.
What I was gonna say, you family, they're all into. I mean, your brother is a drummer, your dad is a piper. Is that how did you pick up like playing the pipes in the first place?
Yeah, it's funny. Like, it's really just my dad's. He was the only piper. We've not got a big tradition of piping in the family at all. It was really just him.
Oh,
But yeah, I mean, growing up, there was always pipes in the house because he was always playing. So it wasn't like it wasn't like a really weird thing. So yeah, I think I could play the scale when I was like 6 or something, and then didn't really do anything, and then started going for lessons properly when I was like 9.
with
And
him?
yeah, with him and through the National Piping Centre as well.
Got
And
it.
um,
That's funny
yeah,
because your brother picked up the drum and you picked up the pipes. It's a good
yeah.
combo.
So I mean, Stephen was kind of forced to learn the pipes as well a little bit, but didn't really want to. Really, what like Stephen's big thing when he was a kid was he wanted to be a drummer in a rock band. That was what he wanted to do. He wanted to learn drum kit, and that didn't go. That just wasn't going to happen. So. He, so he thought he would meet my dad somewhere in the middle, and he would be like, "Well, what if I learned pipe and snare drum?" And then like I'm nearly in that world. So that's what we did, and
Got it. I should
yeah,
talk to him. I should have him on and actually talk to him about that. So that's funny. And then you play for a few bands, right? Like it's funny. I have a few guests lined up and guests that I've talked before, and some are like really pipe band people. Play in a band. They've always played in the band, and I feel like you are more on the soloist, more like. Of course, you played in great bands, but you're doing a lot of solos on the side and also album folks music, right? So, how did you get into pipe band in the first place? Maybe through your dad, and then how did you transition to more like soloist?
yeah. So when I started playing, I didn't play in a pipe band at all. The only reason I played in a pipe band was um, because my brother wanted to learn the pipe band snare drum. So you can't really be a drummer without being in a band. So
Yeah.
um,
Oh,
so
look
so
at that! You shouldn't say that. No, we can. Us drummers can be just great
absolutely.
musician on our own, But I know what you
So
mean.
yeah, so we needed to find a pipe band to play in. So the only reason I started playing in a pipe band was because of Stephen, and we went to play in the Mogai pipe band, which is another town just like I don't know 5 miles north of Glasgow or something as well. So um, yeah, we played in the Mogai pipe band together. But yeah, and then I did the pipe band thing. Um, I played in loads of pipe bands. I played in Bog Hall with yourself, or maybe just after you. I can't remember. I did the two
Yeah,
bit.
I think you left. I did one overlap with Stephen, but
Right. Okay. So I was the year after then. So
yeah,
I was 2009, and then I played with. My dad took over a Grade One band for a while. We played in the Turfickin and Bathgate bands, and then I spent a lot of time in the Scottish Power because I was at uni in Glasgow, and they practiced pretty much in the city centre, and there was loads of young guys at the time, um, and
that was a good. That was. You're right. It's funny that you mentioned. Um, I like the unique perspective that you bring. It's not like I love the music, or it's like, well, it's convenient because it's in Glasgow, but it was a lot of young guys, and it's true that I remember back, it was a few years ago, and I was just talking to Jason Briscoe. You probably played with,
Jason, yeah.
and one of the things he mentioned was just like, wow, the banter, the camaraderie at that time was just great, and that's what attracted like players like you.
Yeah, it was just I mean, no other Grade One band at that time really was practicing in Glasgow city centre, so it was really easy. So there was lots of guys that moved to Glasgow for uni, so there was loads of young guys that were great players, and yeah, they were all really good solo players as well. They were all going around the solo, so we were all friends. So and I got on really well with Chris. Like I still got on great with Chris, and I learned. So my first job when I left school was working in the piping centre in the shop. So I would just learn so much from Chris, just having casual conversations with him. I never had a lesson with him, but I would always like.
Is that right? Just from chatting?
Yeah, every time you spoke to Chris, he would be like, he's always thinking about other stuff, so he'd always be like, "Oh, have you tried this? Have you tried that?" Or so yeah. So I was just like, I think I want to go and join the Power because Chris he's got all these amazing ideas. The music's really cool, and also the band at that time were great. I mean, I think we were second and third at the Worlds, but I mean that pipe corps, it was a really young pipe corps, but I think at the time, like player for player, it was one of the best.
Top. Yeah.
And this was before Inverary were kind of at the top as well, and yeah, it was just the right band to join at the time. But like it's funny because I enjoyed playing in pipe bands, but pipe bands were never my thing. Like I wasn't bothered about it at all. I remember joining the Power, and there used to be a really good sandwich shop beside the piping centre called Cafe Hula.
Yeah. Oh, I love that spot. Yeah, it's so good. The tuna sandwich. Ooh, so good. I still remember it.
Yeah, the best French toast. I don't know. Oh, well, you would just call it toast.
Yeah. True. Yeah, it was a good spot.
But I remember going in there because I wanted to join the band, and Chris was like, "Oh, we'll go for lunch, meet me in lunch in Hula, and then we can have a chat." And I remember him asking me, he was like, "Oh, it's great you want to join the band and stuff." And he was like, "Oh yeah, and you really want to win the Worlds?" And I was like, "No." What are you talking about? And I was like, "Well, I don't really care." And he was like, "What?" And I said to him, I was like, well, that's why I'm joining you guys. And
no, you did not.
Yeah, I genuinely did. Because I was like, I want to like play your music, I want to play in your band, and I want to like, learn loads from you, and it's really good. But I've no interest in winning the Worlds. Really, if I was to win the Worlds, it would be a great party, and it would have a great time. But it wasn't a goal that I'd set out. And I think I said to him, it was like, if I wanted to win the Worlds, I would be speaking to Richard Parks and not speaking to you just now.
Wow, bold, but it's genuine. You were just genuinely talking to him.
Yeah, I knew what I wanted to get out of playing in the band, and I got that. I got that experience, and I got the camaraderie, and it was also nice. Like at that time, when I joined the band, they were just getting in the prize list at the Worlds. They were 6th at the Worlds, and they were so excited about it. And then the first year that I played, we were 3rd in the Worlds. And like when it got read out that we were 3rd in the Worlds, it was like we'd won it. We were just jumping about. Everyone was going mental. And then
top 3. It's huge.
Yeah. And then the next year we were 2nd, and again that was like everyone went crazy. And it was great. And then, but the year after, we were 3rd, and everyone was like Scottish Power 3rd, and everyone was like, and I was like, oh, it just doesn't
resonate. It's so funny.
I enjoyed that kind of chase.
Yeah. So you enjoy the competition aspect, not like playing the competition, but the moment of the result when you're like, what could happen, and you got third.
Yeah, it was just nice to like. I don't know, but I mean, like, I don't. So I don't. So you said at the start that I'm a solo piper, and to be honest, I'm not anymore. But yeah, I don't.
You stopped competing?
I don't compete anymore at all. So, but I mean, when I started, when I was playing in the bands, like this, the solo thing was the thing I was most excited about. And I think I had a kind of very traditional piping upbringing and piping kind of start. So did like opening Inverness and learning tunes and stuff, and yeah.
Do you think it's because your dad was still a great paper, but was very much a solo player as well, right? I don't know much, but from what I've heard, was a very successful solo paper. So do you think that growing up, because your dad was not so much a band sort of player, it naturally influenced the way he would see piping as an instrument, which was more of a solo sort of competition aspect?
Yeah, I mean, like, I never knew my dad to play in pipe bands. My dad finished playing in pipe bands in the 80s.
Right.
I was born in the like 91, so I never ever saw him playing in a pipe band. So he was always doing the solo piping thing, and that's what I was doing as well until Stephen wanted to learn the drums. So.
And you're like, all right, let's go. Let's give it a shot.
I mean, I don't do it anymore at all. So I'm a kind of folky piper now. So I play in like
right.
bands.
And so, just to wrap it up, you have experience pipe bands, because of Stephen. And David Shedden, for those that don't know, saying the full name, is a snare drummer, super talented snare drummer from obviously Scotland, but lives in Melbourne right now for the past few years. Very successful solo player, played for Boghole Shots as well, and maybe in the near future we'll have him on and talk about his drumming. But you had the band stuff, solo. You were, growing up, a lot of solos, and then, but like you said, you were never really a band member. You were always like sort of like playing the bagpipes to, be on its own or with other instruments. Did you go to the academy? Did you go to the RSMD?
Yeah. So went to the RSAMD changed its name to the Royal
Conservatory, yeah.
The RCS. But yeah, I did that course, and it's quite funny because when I started the course, I was competing loads. I think I was already playing in the silver medal when I started first year, and I was like a total pipey piper, like played loads of B-Rock, was so into that kind of way.
Really? At a young age, that's unique. I mean, I don't know that many, younger, piper that are like into pibrock and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big scene. It's like it's a big thing because like all the major competitions for solo piping is all based around pibrock, like the gold medals and all.
I mean, you're talking to a drummer, so what do I know, right?
But no, it's a big thing. So everyone was kind of into it, but I was like very, very traditional, very solo piping. So I think a lot of people that knew me when I started the course. I think a lot of people were quite surprised at the kind of change in my playing by the end of it, because so now I'm folky piper. So
I know.
So I've got like I only have my pipes in B flat now. I don't have a sharp pitch set up.
Do you? It's so interesting. So you think people notice, but did you also notice that your style from growing up and being very traditional sort of like changed throughout the past, I don't know, 10 years or so that you've been playing?
I don't know.
Your interest has, but do you think your style as well?
I don't know. It's it's kind of hard to see. I don't really, in my head, I don't really think I approach piping any differently than I've ever approached it. Yeah, and like the one thing that I was like that really like excited me when I was a kid was the sound of the pipes and really chasing after like a really nice sounding instrument and yeah, just like working with reeds and trying to get the best sound as possible. And I still do that, and I still approach it in the same way, but it's for a different setting now. So it's like yeah. So my pipes, I think my pipes kind of sound like my pipes have always kind of sounded. It's just that now they're not as high as they were. Now they're in B flat concert.
Yeah.
Flat. So which is interesting. I remember having a conversation. So I work quite closely with Stephen Blake from the band Rura. Do you know Rura?
Love that band. Yeah, it's amazing.
So I've been friends with Stephen for years and years, and I remember having an argument with him about how I thought B flat was stupid. And yeah, I remember, and that's kind of where I came from. And now that's kind of all I play in. But
all you talk about, all you rave about and play. Yeah, it's funny.
It's quite interesting the pitch thing. Yeah, my life would be so much easier if like the whole of piping just adopted standard concert pitch tuning. Because
you mean your life like playing with another band, but since you don't play with another band, you feel like you just.
It's funny. So like the main thing when people talk about playing in B flat, they're always talking about playing with other instruments.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, my life would be much easier if everyone just played it. So it's not so much playing with other. Well, it is to play with other instruments. It's obviously easier to be tuned to a concert pitch, but also like if I wanted to go away and play pipes with anyone, like everyone's pipes are tuned to like a random different number. It doesn't make any sense. So if I want to go and play pipes with, I don't know, there's someone playing downstairs just now in the piping centre because I can hear them. But like if I would want to go and play down with whoever, like we wouldn't be able to do it because we're at different pitches.
Right.
We want to go and play with a player that plays in full Marshall and a player that plays in shots, and we just want to just get into a room right now and play our pipes together. We can't do it.
That's interesting. Do you think like standardize the pitch for every band? Is that something that you've been thinking about for a bit, or that you and Steven are talking about? Or?
The whole of Western music has agreed on standardized pitch for like I don't know 100 years, maybe more, and it's only pipers have still stayed in this weird thing, and it's an interesting thing, the pitch thing, because people confuse pitch with like they'll say, "Oh, that sounds flat," which doesn't make any sense. If you hear if you like, it would be like going to like a pop concert and go, "Oh, did you hear the piano sound really flat?" What? It doesn't make any sense. So,
That's super interesting, and it's unique. Like I love that you're thinking about it. Are you thinking about taking it further? Like obviously you're talking about it right now on a podcast, but this is not a very popular podcast, hopefully, just yet. But are you thinking about like writing about it or doing something about it, or?
No, I mean, so when I started playing, in B flat, there wasn't many products that were available to make it easy. Like there were some B flat chanters, but they weren't very good. And I think it's come a long way since then. And now it's pretty easy to get a decent setup. But I honestly think that not enough people care about it for companies to spend lots of money and lots
And
of
research and yeah.
D. So like there are chanters that are okay at it, but there's like trying to get drone reads in B flat's pretty rubbish because there's a few that you can manage to get into it, but they're all these companies want to like make little workarounds. So there's like little drone extenders and stuff which are nonsense, and because they're all like, oh, you can play this and then it'll be fine because you're only going to play in B flat for this like tattoo, and then you're going to be away playing it something else. So it's like, yeah, it's slightly weak. I think the only way that we're gonna get everything in a standard pitch is if like the RSPB say that everyone's got to
in the rules. Yeah.
Because I think the piping thing, they like to, like, they kind of wear it as a bit of a badge of honor. I think sometimes that they kind of tune to no man's land. But hopefully, I think because it's much easier now to play with other people. So I think, yeah, maybe more and more of the younger generation will start kind of wanting to kind of see what else is out.
Do that. Yeah. I mean, it has the to play devil's advocate here, but you do have a little bit more personality, right? If you have your own pitch or your band has their own pitch, but obviously
this is interesting as well because I think like that's always the argument as well. It's like, oh yeah, because it's like, oh, we like to tune a bit higher, or we like to tune a bit lower than this other band, and it's like, I don't know, it's like the pitch of your instrument shouldn't really be like an artistic choice. It's like, I don't know, I think we focus on it quite a lot, and I just think it's weird. Do you know what I mean?
Interesting. I love the again, super excited to talk to you because you're bringing this obviously non-traditional now and more folk music and playing with other instrument, and you're looking at pipe band setup from that kind of point of view. And so to you, it's like, well, why judge on that certain area, or what care? It's not even talking about judging, but it's more why care about that the pitch where to you now playing with more folk music, it's not something that you're thinking too much about. Or you are thinking a lot about.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
it's interesting though. It's I did not expect the conversation, but that is definitely something that is unique. Never heard of it before. I haven't heard about before, and obviously I'm a drummer, so can't be interested in everything about or know about it. But
yeah, that's funny because because you grew up in the Bagad world.
Yeah.
So they always played a bit lower because of the bombard.
Yeah. And it's always been a pain to raise the pitch. I mean, talking about Cap Caval, which was one of not the first band to go over to Glasgow and compete, but definitely the best band to go and compete. And Lorient, which is the second major in Brittany, is a week or two right before the Worlds, and I have friends there. Yeah, you have like a week to change your pipe, which is extremely challenging, and but it's lower, yeah, exactly, to match the bombard and this time.
Yeah, it's just I don't really get it because I think that the whole pitch thing just then becomes a barrier to actually, because it becomes a variable that shouldn't be a variable. So then people get weird about it rather than like focusing on other things that are actually more interesting, like
I see. Yeah. I love. Yeah.
But also, I was thinking about this the other day, and I was like, so I've always got loads of chanters all set up. And I was looking at all these chanters because they were lying on my desk, and I was like, they all do the same thing. They all sound the same. Like all these B flat chanters, they all just sound pretty much the same. Whereas like I was just thinking, like, if I ran a pipe making company, I would be like, right, how do I get more people buying more sets of pipes or more chanters? So I'd be like, right, well, let's make a chanter for like outside and like really big, really loud, like really punchy, and then like let's also then make a chanter for inside that's like really quiet, really sweet. Let's make one like, you know, like make them kind of different so that you're like, you know, let's try and get like repeat customers.
I see.
Kind of genuinely different. So like, what I thought was quite interesting this year because it was so hot at the Worlds. Some of the pipe bands were actually playing in concert B. And I really liked it because I was like, cool, like let's
something different.
Well, it's not something. It's like let's play in concert B. Like let's play in like tune to an actual note. That's cool. That's totally fine. It's the kind of weird somewhere in the middle thing that I just think is kind of weird. But it'd be really cool to see pipe makers go like, all right, let's make a set of Highland pipes in B flat. But let's also make a set of Highland pipes in B, and then let's make a set of Highland pipes in A. You know, and then just like things that you need to buy. So like, you know, oh, we're going to play the A pipes today. Cool, I've already bought a set of those. I'll play them.
Interesting. It's a great approach. And again, like I'm doing these conversations to have different sort of topics, but also different sort of perspective on the instrument itself. So that's amazing to hear. Was that?
Oh, sorry, I was going to say I don't know where you thought this was going. I don't know where I thought this was going. But
no. This is exactly that. It's just conversational and see where the conversation takes us and see your opinions on things. I'd like to frame back to Assynt, right? Is that how you pronounce it? Your band. So you're now you're doing folk music, B flat, with other instruments. How did you start the band? Like, what was the story behind starting the band and doing the album?
Yeah, so the band was like, so for my fourth year of uni, I did like, you had to basically do like a project for your fourth year. It was like a dissertation, but it was like a kind of practical dissertation. So it was a written part, but there was also, I wanted to make it more like a kind of artistic project. So I did like a kind of composition project, and I composed all this music for
all of the music from the album, or like most of the music from the album. You composed it during that time.
Yeah, I composed, I think like 6 sets, or was it more?
Were you always a writer?
Hmm?
Were you always like a composer? Were you always like, toying around with writing music and stuff?
Right, this is interesting. So I didn't actually write a tune until I was maybe 21, 22. Like actually write one down. I had before a little bit, but not really seriously. But I was thinking back to it, and like I was never really encouraged to do it. It's never really a thing that I was ever encouraged to do at all. But every day walking to school, I used to come up with a random tune in my head and like play it, but by the time and like to the pace that I was walking. But and then like I would get to school and then forget about it, and I would never write it down. But it was just like this game that I used to play with myself, just writing these tunes and never ever writing them down. So it was only when I got into my 20s that I started writing.
Actually sitting down and writing them down.
Yeah, but the Assynt came of through this project that I did at uni, which was just this composition project, and I wrote it. I was actually a bit. So you had like different projects to do to make up all your credits. So I tried to have like one big project and split it up into little bits. So like my honours dissertation was like composition, and then I had another thing that was like a recording project, and then my other project was like start a band. So all these things just kind of happened at the same time, and we did like a little recording of it at the time, which wasn't very good. It was like quite quickly done in uni, but that gave the material for Assynt. And
you've had the band for when was the album? I remember we featured you on Unreal. I thought the tunes were cracking. Yeah.
I think the album was 2018.
Okay.
And I think we did our first gig in maybe my last year of uni, which was 2015. We didn't have a name or anything, and then we did like one gig a year for a couple of years because Finlay McDonald at Piping Centre would always give us a gig at Piping Live. And if he hadn't done that, then I don't think the band would have existed, because he kept just giving us a gig, and then we would forget about it, and then it was like 2018 that we kind of started. So yeah, we recorded that album with a really good pal of mine, Scott Wood, who's a fantastic piper.
Piper as well.
Me and Scott grew up together. Scott used to play with the Strathclyde Police when we were kids, and played with them in solo piping competitions, and we were in the National Youth Pipe Band together. And so Scott's now a fantastic kind of folk musician as well, but he runs a studio as well from his house. So we recorded that first Assynt album when Scott was still living in his parents' house.
So he was doing it at his parents' house. So the album, which I recommend anyone to it's on it's available online, or have to buy it?
It's on Bandcamp and Spotify. Actually, we don't have that many copies of it left, actually. So Spotify, you can.
So please don't buy it, and just go and listen.
But we've got a new one coming out. But yeah, that was funny. Like we recorded it in Scott's parents' house, and Scott was just getting into recording. He'd recorded a few people, but he's very. Scott goes quite deep into things and goes down rabbit holes. So he was really knowledgeable, and he bought ridiculous amounts of gear. And recording it was just ridiculous, because like his mum would come home from work, and he'd like run out and like give his mum like a wad of cash and be like, go buy your dinner, go out and go for dinner, or like.
I'm busy recording here.
We did that, and we had to, because he only had two rooms. He was in the living room of the house, and I was in the little control room, which is this little tiny room. So we had pipes in with Scott in the control room, and then we had fiddle and guitar at the same time in the kitchen, in the living room. So, which meant we couldn't edit anything together, so the whole thing is completely live, because there was so much, like the fiddle mic bled into the guitar mic, so you couldn't, if there was like a fiddle mistake or something.
That was it. Oh my god!
So it was really cool, and like the album was good. Like the playing on it's really tight and stuff, but it's maybe not, because of that. It's maybe not like as like overly produced as something else. But
I think it's great. I mean, I really liked the tunes in there.
Because of that, I think it's got a bit of character. So it was cool. Yeah. So
you say you have a new one? You have a new one coming up as well?
So yeah, this is just. So we recorded a new album in Scott's new place. He's got like a proper setup now. It's like
right, where you can edit every parts and right.
So we recorded it in February 2020, end of February 2020, and we all know what happened shortly after that. So we got all the parts all recorded, and then we got our friend Charlie Stewart to come in and record bass, and then the next week we were set to mix it and then send it to mastering and then get it pressed. And that was the day that we were supposed to start mixing, was the day that lockdown hit and stopped it. So we were like, oh, we'll just wait, because it'll be like, they were saying like 3 weeks or something, and then we can go back in.
It was 2 weeks back then. Yeah, that's right. So wait, so the album is ready, or it's been ready for a few years, but you haven't released it yet.
It's been an ongoing thing. So like, we were just like, will we finish it? And then the restrictions started open, but we still couldn't do any gigs. So we're like, there's no point just now, because you only sell physical CDs at gigs. You don't
Right.
sell them at night, because people like stream music now as well. So
Mm-hmm.
so you can only really sell them at gigs. So we're like, we'll just hold on to it for a while. And so now it's been like 2 years. So we need to get it finished. It's still not been mixed. Well,
I'd love to listen to it. I mean, I'd still listen to the first album. So you should release it.
It should be out. It should be out this year at some point. So
okay,
yeah, so we're aiming for before Christmas. So yeah,
nice. Okay,
it's been a long, drawn out process of something.
I imagine
4 days to record.
Wow, that's crazy. Is there usually I kind of like talk about a favorite, medley or tune or band that one of the guests like or remember. It could be a band that they've played with, or a band that they don't necessarily. But for you, I'm curious to hear. Obviously you're a good friend with Steven from Rura. You've got a great band yourself as well. Is there anything within that sort of style that include piping that a new band or some sort of music or things like that came up recently, and you're like, wow, this is right up my alley, love it, and I think it could be great? Or is there anything that you're proud of that you've done recently?
Yeah. So. Yeah, it's a good question. It's funny. I went and listened to some of the previous podcasts. So it's funny, for pipe band medleys. We haven't really spoken about this, but my job at the Piping Centre now is to work with the National Youth Pipe Band. So one of the things that we're doing with the National Youth Pipe Band for this coming year is we're going back and looking at some classic pipe band repertoire. And one of the things that I picked out was the Simon Fraser University 2004 medley. So I went and wrote out that whole medley for the band to play, and wrote out all the harmony parts and stuff.
You couldn't ask Terry Lee to get a copy of the medley. You had to go and rewrite the whole thing.
Yeah, I've asked Reed if he's still got the score, but it was just quick enough for me just to read it out from the
right.
The recording.
Didn't mean to put you on the spot. Sorry.
I knew most of it anyway, because at the time, 2004, I was just a kid, and I used to play along with that one. And I thought it was quite cool because I don't know if you remember that medley, but it was the Air and B minor medley, and
right.
Brought back the slow air at the end, and it was at the time I'd not heard anything like that before, and that was really exciting. And I loved that medley as a kid.
Actually, that's funny. That was my first Worlds, 2004.
Yeah.
I had never been at the Worlds before, and I was not playing in the band. It was and they were playing that slow air, which many bands have done since, and I think their 09 medley, it was also brilliant because of that. That's kind of slow air. Yeah, it is a great medley. I need to find a way to actually play the medley on the recording, but I'm sure it's available online and worth the watch. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was cool, but I think another thing that was kind of cool about doing it with the National Youth Pipe Band is they didn't win that year. They were second. So I just think, as a kind of standalone medley, I thought it was really cool, and it kind of I thought it was quite a nice thing that to include that one instead of like the 2009 one where they won. It's kind of to include the one where like
they didn't
win, because it's like, it's like it doesn't matter that they didn't win. It's still kind of amazing, kind of
nice. Yeah. What's the obviously I wanted to wrap up with it, and we're already 45 minutes in, but you now work at the Piping Center. You're teaching on the side one-on-one, I imagine, but you also are helping the youth band, right? And what's this new project you're talking about? Where is it like playing old or melodies from the past that were interesting, or what, can you tell us more about it?
Yeah, so obviously the National Youth Pipe Band is a concert band. So we've got three bands. We've got a junior band, a senior band, and a development band. And so we've just every year just got to get new material to make up a concert. So one thing we're just trying to bring in is like kind of pipe band classic sets. So each band has got a kind of classic pipe band set within their program. So so we've got a Simon Fraser University medley. We've got the junior bands, who's the kind of younger kids. We've got them doing a set from the 78's Live in Ireland album.
Nice.
For the senior band, we're doing some Vale of Athol sets from their Live and Well album. So we're just, and we're just going to try and bring this in so that every year we do something else from another band. We feature another band.
And is it like, is it a just one set? But I imagine the concert that you create. I don't know if you can hear. I'm in New York, so there's a huge alarm at the moment. Beauty of living in New York. But the thing that you're mentioning, is it just one set, or is it like the whole concert is based around that one medley? Or
no, it's just one set.
Just one set.
Yeah. So we've got other things going on as well. So some of the other music is we ran a program to get young composers to write specifically for the National Youth.
Very cool.
Really cool. We got some funding to pay them as like a commission.
No way, that's brilliant.
Some of them were pipers, some of them weren't pipers, which was really exciting. So it's just like, we had most of them were kind of from the kind of traditional music world, so like playing fiddle and accordion and different things.
Mm-hmm.
And pipers, we had a drummer that wrote out like everything, wrote out the drums, wrote out the pipes, wrote out some.
See, drummers can be talented at everything.
Absolutely. And we had a girl who's a classical composer who's done a classical composing master's degree to come in and write for us. So
wow.
It was really cool. So we're featuring some of that music this year as well as
is it going to be
stuff.
Is it going to be at a concert or an album, or you guys think of doing an album or a concert, or
no? It's a concert band, so we normally do like one kind of major concert a year that features like three bands. But we've got the senior band doing another couple of things, and I don't know if we'll do an album as such, but we're definitely always looking to get into the studio with small groups of people just to give them an experience of doing that. So I think we've got some material that was recorded during the pandemic years that hasn't really been shown. So I think that's going to go out as well on social media and stuff like that.
And now that Scott Wood's got a proper setup, it's perfect timing to record it.
The National Youth Pipe Band didn't use Scott Wood. There's loads of really good studios in Glasgow. So
yeah, I'm sure. Well, that's awesome. And to mention too that the youth band is composed of young talent from different bands all over the UK. So they have a not a job, but they have a full-time band that they're playing with all season, and then on the side, obviously additional repertoire and concert and stuff like that. It's amazing every year. I know Alistair McLaren was running it before, and now it's you guys. And it's great to see every time, every year, just so much good content coming out of it. So
yeah, it's great, and it's such a worthwhile project as well. And I think it's gone through a few stages. So Paul Warren was the first guy that had it, and they had one band, and it was really like, let's get all the best players from across the country and let's just do a gig. And that was the kind of thing. Whereas now it's a bit more like, let's try and make it like a kind of development opportunity for everyone. So we've got junior bands pretty young, and then development band are kind of in the middle, and then senior band is just made up of loads of guys from that play in Inverary and
Yeah. Oh, great player. And it's also in a previous episode we're talking about kind of the rivalry that you had back in 2000 and even before in between bands. And the youth band really was one of the factors that helped meet people from your age. If you're 17, 16, 18, you meet other people from other bands, you create friendship, different style, different approach to playing the instrument, which can only benefit the instrument itself and the sort of the community.
Yeah, I think so. And it's I think I remember at the time when I was playing in the band, there was quite a lot. No one really knew how to kind of treat the youth band, in that a lot of people were kind of worried about, they didn't want to send young players to the band because they thought they were just going to be taken off to, they would never see them again. And
yeah,
I think I remember Paul Warren had the Lomond and Clyde band, and he used to say to people, members of the National Youth Pipe Band would be like, Paul, can I join your band? Because you've got a little bit of, you're working with them and you're maybe looking to move to Glasgow or whatever. And I remember him saying, no, you can't join my band because we can't have this. We can't
thing, yeah.
I'm taking over. So now me and Stephen runs it. So Stephen Blake runs it, and I'm kind of here helping out as well. So now none of us are affiliated with any pipe bands, and we don't want to play with a pipe band at all. There's kind of, hopefully that's going to put people's minds at ease, and
yeah. Just make sure that they're interested in winning the worlds, at some point.
Exactly.
That's the only thing. Cool. Well, thank you so much for chatting today. We're almost an hour in, so I appreciate your time. I know you're busy teaching and stuff or making coffee. Is there anything that you want to, promote, highlight? Obviously we talked about your band, and the hopefully new album coming out before the end of the year, but is there anything else that you want to kind of promote or call out?
No, not really. Just just album 2 from Assynt should be around the corner. 2 years in the
nice.
Making. So hopefully that gets out.
Nice. Yeah, looking forward to it. But thanks again for chatting today. I appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of the day, and I'm sure I'll see you around sometime soon.
Cheers.
See ya.